Structure of the select statement, so the structure is what?
Select what columns I want to add or just choose it.
Yeah, so if I do structure, I'm just talking about the keywords that wind up on the left side here. Really. So what are your keywords that wind up here to create a select statement?
Select if we have join, we add join on.
Okay, so I don't need the join on.
From.
So select
Table.
stuff from
Where.
Group by. Yep, and then group by.
Order by.
And then order by. Okay. So, and whatever that may be. All right, so this is the framework. So we've got 5 clauses in here. The select clause, from clause, where clause, group by clause, order by clause. So that's the part that we got to keep in mind. So that's the general framework of the structure of the select statement. So if we focus on the group by, and we can just say from one table just to keep things simple for right now, so we don't weave the joins into here. Select something from whatever group by. Okay. All right, so what's true about, so this is a question for you. What's true about the information that comes up in the select and the information that comes after the group by? You can make like 3 or 4 statements about what's true about that. What's the relationship between the select clause and the group by clause? We want to tag those down because you need to memorize those.
When we have aggregation and select, so we have to use group by.
All right, so we have an aggregation function.
Yeah.
And we've used a variety of aggregation functions. I'm going to put these up here. They're not going to necessarily all make sense. This is just a listing of what we've done. Okay, so we could do sum total. We could do a count of anything. Could be a count of like order number of orders. This is what that's going to give. We'd seen what could we do with the date? What else could we put up there?
Min-max.
Right. You do min-max. Okay, so min on purchase date. Okay, max on purchase date. Scribble that in a little bit. Running out of room on the board. All right, so the select, based on what tables we're working with, takes on this type of notation. So there's one other item, and I've got to squeeze this in a little bit because I didn't give myself enough room. All right, I'll take this part and go like this. Okay. All right, so we've got these aggregation functions. So that's the terminology that's over here. These are all aggregation functions. Let's see, aggregation functions. Okay, and we could have done min on something alphabetic like cities. The min or max on cities or numbers or dates, all of that works just fine. It'd be a little unusual to do it because like, what do we need to know the min for? Maybe in some other type of environment where you're doing surveys and you have text coming in as part of the answers, then we'd use it. All right, so that the point here is that when we have aggregation functions, okay, we need to have the group by clause. Okay, so I'm drawing a circles connecting those two things together. Those are never independent of each other. They're always absolutely dependent on each other. And I'm using this term aggregation functions very explicitly because the other term in a general category of functions is row functions. We'll be working those through today. And those are just like, okay, just got to use this often enough to bang through it and remember what it is, what the different functions are that are available. Right now, there's one other item about group by. All right, so I've mentioned this one. That's one of the points. What else is true about group by here? group by clause relative to the select clause.
It has to have the elements.
Yep, gotta
of the group
identify.
by With
Who's green here? Green, let's see.
whatever you're selecting, it's not part of an aggregate, it has to be in the group.
Right, you gotta specify some group in here. Okay, so we were working with, ordered by, or sorry, group by, what was one of the group bys?
Well, one of the first ones we did was order number.
Title,
So there's one, we did like 3 or 4 different ones. So I gotta pick out something that makes sense here. So my mind is going over to this min purchase date, max purchase date. Group by city. We've done a join. And from each of the cities, we wanted to see, okay, what was the earliest purchase date and the latest purchase date. I could have grouped it by customer, grouped it by city, didn't really matter. All right, but if I say I need to group by something here, right? So that's the point. All right, so I've got city in here. In order for this information to be useful, I should say, whatever I put down here in the group by, that needs to be up in the select clause. So if I say city up here, then comma, and this would actually work the way this is written right now. If we were to say from, let's see, city order, got that in there. Okay. So let's fill in the rest of this, and this would be another version of code. In order to make this fully work, let's focus on the join part of it. So we've got something tangible that works. So what the from is going to get filled in with what?
From should contain the tables we are using to.
So what's the names of the tables from the bookstore? That would cover this, that would provide these attributes, these table columns.
Orders, customers.
And the syntax was join.
join.
On. Join on.
Not quite on yet. Got to put the other table name in there.
Join on.
Come over.
Customers.
Right. And cities is in customers. So join on customers. Then we can say
Then we
on.
say that.
Right.
Should I.
Order now.
So I equals O dot customer ID.
Right.
Underscore ID.
Cust ID. This is a foreign key. Equals customer ID.
Yeah.
Okay. And now we'll skip the where clause. And if we group by city, if we put, got a comment here, comment here. Okay, so this
when we
would
have a
work to
join-
get you a correct output.
Hmm?
Go ahead.
When we have a join, do we not have a where? Or can we,
You don't, when you have a join on, you don't need the where clause. It's optional.
it's optional, but you can still have.
Yeah.
Okay.
The where will filter the rows.
Mhm.
Okay, so this is with and that statement is exclusively like quick statement we both built together. That's exclusively within the context of using the join on syntax.
Mhm.
If we don't use the join on syntax, then we necessarily have to use the where clause in order to take this condition right here, and put it under the where clause, and change the word join into a comma. And drop off on it.
Right, okay.
All right, so a couple other things that we've seen with group by and order by. So let me come down just a notch here. Let's see, really like to have a color to work with. I don't, I use it right off. All right, so I've got city up here, I've got city over here. All right, so there's, at the basic rules of engagement, so to speak, level, I've got two rules. Group by has to go with an aggregation function, always have to have those paired. Whatever I put down here, it's usually what I put up here.
So usually, not always, usually.
Yeah, it would be unique, shall we say, maybe weird would be a better word, to not put the word city up here or something meaningful up here. Because like I have no idea what the numbers are associated with. I don't put something up here. So I don't technically need to have anything up here for the statement to execute, but for it to be usable, useful, I have to have something up there, which is always usually this guy. All right, so this is 2 points about group by, okay? So I've got one statement here, which is that relationship in red, and I've got another relationship here. All right, so what else did we see about group by? And this is getting more into the details of some of the syntax. I say select, we did this last name, first name thing. So I'll just abbreviate this a bit. We say last name, concat, and how do you finish this off? What comes after the concat operator?
Space,
Space.
Single or double quote?
single quote. And what's the rule with the single and double?
The double quote only goes with the alias of the display column or the display column
Okay.
names.
The text for the display.
Right. So last name. Okay, and then I said as and use double quotes over here. Name. All right. And then we were saying it'll do like sum total again. I'm not going to spell all of this out. It's the same join up here. So from, same as above. Okay. All right, select, and then the group by. All right, what was the rule here? If I say group by, this is by person's name, so I'm not grouping by city. How do I take this first expression? I'll use that term since I introduced it. Everything in the select clause is actually an expression. Some could be ultra simple, and some are actually very complex. Okay. So what do you put in the group by here?
First name. Last name. Expression.
And it has to be first name, last name, exactly like this. So all of that has to come down.
Could you just put one?
No, you go.
Oh, no, that's
you-
an order by. Never mind.
Correct. Yeah, and that's why I'm focusing on the group by, because order by will take the positional references. So,
I was just making it easy so we didn't have to repeat it.
exactly. So this goes in here.
So you couldn't use it won't give it to the name.
Right, it won't take name, and even if we left off the double quotes and just use name, it's not gonna take, you do the double quoted reference to the display column name, it's not gonna take the, the name of the column without the double quotes either, name of the display column.
And why is that?
Syntax rules,
That works.
the rules of the game. It's like what's considered offsides in basketball. What's considered, whatever, just the rules of the game, the rules of the language. Okay, all right, now, so this is the third point then about group by, is that even if this is available, we're limited to this type of expression. Right, so another item for group by, and we came across this when Justin and I were working problem. So I don't know if you came across this in what you're doing on your exercises, but yeah, I said, okay, aggregation functions, right? Okay, good, got that locked in our minds. Okay, there's a case where you can use group by where you don't want aggregation functions. Okay. And the select statement there was select title and city. And let me spread this out just a little bit because I'm going to change here. Select title, city, okay, from, and here this is title and city. So the ER diagram was, we've got books over here, and we've got order items here. There you go for me to write, over closer. And we've got orders here, and we've got customers here. Okay, we'd already said our relationships were like this. And I'm getting a field out of this table and a field out of this table. Out of those two tables, that's where title and city comes from. So what's the structure of the join on? And how many, I've used these terms like 7-way joins or 3-way joins, or
You can start from books.
yeah, so we start from books. So we say books, and just read off what the syntax would be, how this works.
Join on
So join, and then
order items.
order items, OI, and the on portion. So B dot ID equals OI dot book ID. Okay, what's the next one? Is this is the bridge between these two.
I think there's on, other on.
Gotta throw the word join in there before. It's always, the join on is always paired. You're gonna have, we've got 3 bridges here to build. So you're gonna have 3 join on statements or clauses,
Join, yeah.
subclauses, whatever you wanna call it. Technically from is the clause, so I guess join on would be the
Join
subclause,
orders. So we have to say your join orders.
right? So, and when we say this join on orders, that basically means we're taking everything that is under here, all of this, taking all that underlined space, and now we're joining on orders. So whatever the result of the underlying portion is, down in orders, let's go call that O. Then what?
On
Right, then comes the word on.
order now equals order ID.
All right,
OI.
so and we want to take that OI,
Order now
order now,
equals order now.
order now.
Join on
And we just keep going to join ons.
customers.
Customers, let's spell that right.
C on C.ID, customer ID.
Yeah.
C.ID.
Yeah, and it's always good to be thinking about where did I just leave off? I left off at orders,
Customer ID.
so you want to start off with orders again. Customer ID.
Equals CID,
Right.
C.ID.
Right. So as we progress along this, the order in which I'm laying out the tables here is helpful to be able to observe. So we're going from this table to this table, to this table, to this table. And I make sure that this portion of the condition is the predecessor. We're doing OI here and OI here. So that's the pattern to lock in your mind. So the four-way join. Now, here's what's interesting on this is Justin and I were working through this guy. Let me do the group by first. So the group by was city. Okay, now what's interesting though is like, I want it by title and city. Right. So the problem with this right now is if you run it, your output will get duplicate titles for each city. If I just want a single entry of each title for the city. There is a keyword that we put in here, and we haven't seen this keyword yet. I don't think we've introduced it. That's using the word distinct. So if I say select distinct title city and group by title city, this will give me a listing of all the titles that were ordered from people in those cities. Or I could change this to customer
So
name.
what, if you didn't have it, what would you get?
You'd get a listing. So if like 6 people ordered the same book we are on, live in Dallas, you'd get the
6
the
times.
book. Yeah, you'd get the book title 6 times.
And the title and city 6 times. So then if you put
Right.
distinct, it'll only list it once.
Right. Mm-hmm. All right. So this is an this is another format of the of working with group by. Here we don't have any aggregation functions. We're just trying to create a list, and the key thing is that when we're creating a list, we have reason to use distinct. So this is the key element that's showing up in here. Okay. So distinct on title, and we have title down here, and then city as well. All right, so group by is like ultra critical to understand and have that captured. Anything else on group by? Good with that? Questions on it? Okay. All right, let's go back into our space here. You can continue going through these questions on your own. They're on page 85 and earlier. The answers are provided in a hard copy that I passed out to you, and the answers are over here in soft copy under the SQL for Students under SQL Files. That's the page 83 to 85 bookstore exercise answers. So you can go ahead and look at it there. All right, moving along, we've got price history table idea. So this is getting into a little bit stronger type of syntax. What we're working with is merging. Okay, so we've got different tables that we're going to be working with. Create table as, insert into, and then merge using a subquery. This is what we're headed for, is this merge. So if you look at the layout of this merge, if I've got 2 different tables that I want to merge into a third table, this is saying merge into table name 1 using some subquery, and you put down some pseudo table name. Think of it as an alias, simple, like what we've used in the from statements. So merge into using and then some join condition. When matched, then do an update. When not matched, do an insert. Okay, so this is like, oh, okay, we got several different things happening here. There's a lot of moving parts of the statement, in the structure of this merge statement. Okay, so we'll see what this looks like, but the key outline is merge into using and there's some type of joint condition, when matched, when not matched. Okay, when not matched, we do inserts, when matched, we do updates. All right, so let's do the create table first. We're looking at number 1. All right, so this is the CTAS, it's called, create table as, on your page 87. Okay, so we're going to create a price history table, and we're going to let that price history table be constructed from the structure of books and the data values of books. Okay, so when we say create table price history as, right, this within parentheses, what do you refer to that as?
Let's select structure.
Right, so select, it's in the
Query.
parentheses though, so it's a subquery.
So for you.
Okay, or an inner query, you might hear that expression as well. It's an inner query or subquery. Some people call it even a child query. Right, so we got this subquery showing up. Subqueries are super powerful, so just want you to make sure you see that and stamp that in your mind when it shows up. All right, so it'd be good to have a date timestamp that should ideally be updated automatically. So let's create price history from a portion of books. All right, so here's a different way of doing create table price history. So select title ID price from books where 1 equals 0. Why would we do that? Where 1 equals 0? All right, so this is a way of saying don't select the rows, because this condition will be false, which means none of the rows will be copied from books into price history. We'll just grab the structure.
That lost me.
So we'll go ahead and we'll see this, and we'll run this. All right, so alter table price history. We're going to add what? What are we adding here?
Current date. Last.
So look at last date, date, default, and sysdate. What are each of those 4 words doing?
So last date has a format of date and it defaults to system.
And the column, which is date and
Mhm.
system date at that time.
Right. Okay. All right, so if we take and save the current price into price history, we can insert into price history the title, the ID, and the price using the select statement that's up there. Okay. Display the table content. So let's walk through this here. We're going to do this and then get into the merge, and we'll see how all of this plays together. And this is keeping a record of what the price history is of the books that are in the inventory. That's where this is functionally going. Okay. All right, so we can go all the way back to right here. And let's see how this works compared to the bottom, and we'll do the next slide. So CTAS is what this is called, create table as. Very powerful. Okay, so I need to go up to my Brasilia. You can open up whatever file you were working with last time. Let's see. Okay. And turn on your line numbers if you haven't done that yet.
And I did get my tables restored, so
What's that?
I was able to load my tables this time.
You were?
Yeah, on Monday.
Okay. Mhm. Okay, good.
So did you do something or did something?
Yeah, I it's a little hard to know these are what we were seeing on the London account was an intermittent issue.
Mhm.
So just because it's good right now doesn't mean anything. Stays good all day, that
Right.
means something. So, but yeah, I applied the Oracle stats analysis to the tables,
Oh, okay.
to all tables under all of the accounts, so that that statistical basis of significantly affects performance is being utilized now. I would not have thought that it would matter for small, ultra small tables like this. It's like, hey, that's what we need to do on real big tables. So if I just follow the pattern, ignore the table size, maybe it'll make a difference today.
Yeah, looking for small tables is something easy now, but when you are going to work with millions of rows, it's will take a lot of time. And even I think this query is very harmful for the processing if you have a big number of records, which will create a huge number of.
Yeah, there's a way of working these, structuring these so that you gain a lot of performance advantage.
Yeah.
The whole concept of that you're not going to be tested on is even putting hints in your SQL queries. Because you can put in a /* and then put in any one of a dozen different hints. Literally, hint is the technical term for it.
Mhm.
That directs Oracle's SQL engine on precedence considerations it should take when it's assembling the execution plan for that query. So that hints are a key item of performance to tweak, especially when big tables are present.
So we will create these queries
Yeah, so you can just,
on page 87 and
yeah, on 87, you can go ahead and create this, and then go ahead and drop it. The idea is run this, look at it, so you see what's in here, then run the text that's on the bottom and the career font.
So we just type these in as this?
Yeah, yes. Mhm.
don't need to use parentheses in the other query, second one.
Say again?
We use parentheses in first query, the other one we don't need to use parentheses for the select.
Yeah, it's, technically the parentheses are optional, but it helps for readability to see what's going on. So I'll purposely give different formats, different syntaxes of statements, as you see here.
you go over that whole, for when you create tables, the price from books where 1 equals 0?
So we'll demonstrate.
Oh, yeah, that's right, that's what we're doing, yes, we can see on the board.
So I'll do this by creating two separate tables. One I'll call price history, and the other I'll call price history 2.
Sounds good.
I'm just gonna get these other columns, these other items in here.
So,
Right, so let's create.
so I shouldn't have done the first one, I should have just done the second two commits.
Oh, it's fine. Yeah, it's good to see this one, because then you can see what's going on. And if you want to say this is create price history, I don't know, 2, throw something after it,
Oh, okay.
and then drop price history. I'm gonna do it that way.
Yeah, that's it.
So price history dropped, I'll create price history 2, and then I'll create price history as the select guy. All right, so I got 2 tables added here now. One is price history, the other is price history 2. All right, so if you look at the way I did this, under books, I'm interested in maintaining just the price history. So I did the select, it said just grab me these 3 columns out of books. So both in the price history 2 down here, those are the highlighted columns here that I identified from books. Those are what's present in those 2 price history tables. And if you went and did a look into each of those, so how do you look? Take a quick look into the tables.
Select asterisks.
And you may want to order by book number, just so that, or order by ID, just so that there's some sense of consistency in the outputs here. Okay, so price history 2 is the information below. And I'll pin that. And then if I go look at price history, which had this where 1 equals 0, if I run that query for select, let's see. Forgot to change my table name, there we go. All right, so under price history, there's no rows. Okay, because we said where 1 equals 0. So we just put a dummy condition over here that'll always be false. So what is the where subclause used for? The where clause, what is it always used
To
for?
complete the structure of the table from one to other.
So that's what the effect of this will be, is to force only the structure of the books table to be applied into the price history
Yeah,
table
but we do not execute
for
any-
this,
yeah,
the
there's
columns that are
no
selected.
query.
Right.
No query.
So no query, so specifically the where clause, think big picture. The where clause is used to do what? So what you said is true.
To find the rows that match the conditions.
Right, right. So it's all, the where clause is always used as a filter on the rows. So if you just give it a false condition to begin with, it won't select any rows.
But why would you do that?
In this case, I don't want to take the author last name, author first name, and quantity. I don't need all this other information in the price history table. So, and I really don't want the rows necessarily.
But wouldn't I have just created it with the title ID and price?
Correct. And that's what you see over here, just title ID and price. Because all I want is the price history. Yeah,
But
What
when
did-
we did the other one, it filled it with,
Correct, up here. I'm gonna say when we did the other one, when we did this, there's no where clause here. So that gave me everything right here.
right, so it didn't,
It gave me everything right here, meaning it gave me all the data rows.
And then the other one was blank.
Correct. The other one is blank because there's no
Why?
data rows in here.
don't you want the data? I don't understand why you don't want the data rows in there.
I'm gonna create the data rows through a different means.
Oh, okay.
So this is just initialize a new table based on an existing table. And then the business rules and logic associated with that new table.
All right, so it's like
It's for a
defaulting
totally
the values
different
and
purpose.
stuff?
Pardon?
It's like defaulting the
Exactly,
format for
Right.
the fields to match, okay. That
right.
makes sense.
Because I know I want those 3 fields from books.
And I
those
want
3
it to
fields.
match how they're defined, I don't want to define something 40
Exactly.
characters versus 30.
Yeah.
Okay, that
So,
makes sense.
because the alternative here is that I could write a create table price history, and then put in all of the information for title, ID, and price. But then the chances of me typing something wrong gets dramatically higher.
Yeah.
So I just say, create it
Fields don't compare.
using what I already figured out, whatever it was.
Okay.
Okay, one more thing, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
So the 1 equals 0 refers to, is it the price?
It refers to nothing. It's just a
Okay.
false condition.
Okay. Okay.
You could put anything there that was
Right,
false.
I could say we're A is like B or whatever, any condition you can imagine. Usually 1 equals 0 is just kind of common default.
Okay.
Doesn't matter what the condition is as long as it tests to false. So that'll give you the structure as is defaulted into price history. Okay, now this alter statement, this will give us a record of what the or when we do the price changes. So if you keep in mind, say you want to do an analysis over time, every business reduces and increases prices on their merchandise, right? So there has to be some way of doing some financial analysis on the amount of sales compared to price, and be able to figure out how to best position the price and when to have sales and when not to have sales. Okay, so that's what this goes into. If you want to get deeper into this, it's more of an analytics space. This is how to get it started. All right, so you saw the subquery up there in create table as. Okay, and down here, we still have a subquery, even though there is no parenthesis around there. Technically, this is still a subquery. All right, now if you go on to your next slide, assuming that you've already entered this altered table command. Next slide, and I can look what page that is. It is page 88. So page 88. We have this save the current price into price history. All right, so insert into price history. All right, what do these columns here refer to?
Which columns should be updated?
Right, these are the columns that are going to be updated inside the table price history.
Yeah.
Okay, and then we're just, for right now, kind of just really for the purpose of showing that, yes, you can have a where clause in here. We're going to say, just give me all the titles, IDs, and prices for books where price is greater than or equal to 10. So what do we have in our books right now? And go ahead and run this. Just so we can see whether we're consistent here or not. We're gonna get different outputs if we don't have exactly the same thing. It's not wrong to get different things, but, I just want you to be aware of, you get some books that are not these two shown in the middle, then you're gonna wind up with different results. All right, so when we execute this insert statement, what is it gonna do for us?
I'm sorry, what was that question?
When we execute this insert statement here, what additional rows are gonna be added in the price history?
I have no idea. Oh, I guess no, because price is in there. Additional rows, I don't see any additional rows. I just see data being put in the rows, but. Well, yeah, I guess that would be it.
Yeah, so let me pin this one and I'll label these just to make this easier. All right, so this is books. Oops, line, there we go. And right now we have price history before is empty. So just say price history before. Fine. So you got books, price history before. So after executing this insert statement, what are you going to see in the price history table?
Information.
Yeah, which rows specifically, which rows and columns?
Books, title, and
Two
ID
books, should select two books.
that are more than $10.
When there is sitting around,
The current price is more than
in this
$10.
moment, number 3 and number 4 should be selected.
Yeah.
So rows 3 and 4 without the authors, that's what's going to be in there. All right, so go ahead and run that. It says 2 rows inserted. And double check that. I don't need to add this in, just rerun select from price history. Let's see if I can get the right button. All right, so those are the 2 books we got added in, because their price is greater than $10. Okay, so displaying the table content. So I'm gonna do a little something here now. This is an introduction into row functions. As you start getting into this section a bit. Okay, so display the table content inside of price history. Okay. I'm including the hour and the minute. So previously, we had always taken and just displayed the date. There's always, when we pull from sysdate, there's always time as well. So what is the 2 char doing here? 2 char, there's different ways of saying this. This is a conversion function. So every entry for last state is going to be extracted, that data value is going to be extracted. And 2 char says whatever the data value is from that data row, I want it displayed in this format. So this is month, comma, DD, 1, comma, 4 Ys for the year, space, and then hour, colon, minutes.
So kind of like yesterday when you were telling me that when you're doing the functions, like the 2 chars, the function, then the parentheses is taken with last date, which is the information is pulling, and then the comma says take that and display it as that.
Exactly.
Okay.
So, and that's the thing that imprint deeply on your mind, is this is true in every programming language without exception, is that, I just put this over here. So every function always has a name, so you have some function name, and then you have a primary argument. And then you have any secondary arguments. Now, I'm sure that there are functions written where they put the secondary arguments first instead of the primary argument, but that's really bad coding. So yes, this probably exists, but it would be really bad. I tend to use the word arguments. Parameters is technically the better way of doing it. Saying it, I've done enough scripting that I'm used to using the word arguments. Parameters is a little bit more conventional way of speaking about this. So just as you said then, toChar is the name of the function, and the primary parameter in there is what?
Last date.
Yep, last date. And then the nature of the secondary arguments, or there could be this is secondary arguments as in more than one. That secondary argument is a format string, is what it's referred to as. So you say format string in here, and then close parenthesis. But whatever that format string is. And we'll be looking at format strings a little bit later. So the idea here though is that this is a row function. Meaning that every row that gets selected is going to have this function applied to it. And there's only 2 rows in here, so we see, okay, yep, all 2 rows have been applied.
I have a stupid. Great question. How come we don't have to put as in front of last date? In the double quotes.
Okay, cool.
Oh, so as is actually optional.
Oh.
Yep.
There's a lot of options.
Yeah, exactly. There's always 2 ways to do the exact same thing. That's, I think that's literally true. I'm sure there's some exceptions to that, but it's like 95% of the time, there's always 2 ways to write this statement.
So
So
sometimes,
I've intentionally been using as so that when you see it disappear, you're used to seeing it, that it can be there or not be there.
so enhanced readings.
It's more
As-
clear what's happening if it's there.
Correct. Yeah, there's a little shorthand way of doing things that takes away some of the readability. Okay, all right, so we took a look at this so we can see what last date is here. Now let's apply the sale price to books that are greater than $10. All right, so here I've got the set clause and I've got the where clause. So now you can see why, okay, why did I pick the books greater than or equal to $10? Because that's the only ones we're going to change are the ones that were greater than or equal to $10. And the where clauses are just to functionally show that it can be present. Doesn't serve a whole lot of purpose, but we're going to take the most expensive books and we're going to do a sale on those, all 90% off. Go ahead and do a commit, by the way. You click on this little green arrow here, which gives you commit, or else type it in either way. All right, so now my books, if I go in and look at books, I've got a 90% discount. Sorry, 10% discount, meaning a 90% sale price going there. So if I look at everything from books, just go run it again. These books that used to be $20 and $12, this is from the books query earlier, are now like $18 and $11. So you got a little tiny sale going on here. All right, so this next step, which is at the bottom of your slide, 88 here. Yeah, and this is the idea of working this through now, because if you want your price histories, you want to go back after the sale to whatever the normal price was, right? So this is a very common retail type concept. So apply the sale price to the books, and then number 2, before reverting to the pre-sales price, save the current price.
So to see the new price, we were supposed to go, oh, almost the wrong thing. Never mind, I got it.
So, and by the way, do use copy and paste within your editor window here, so you can minimize the amount of typing you do. All right, now, this is gonna be interesting. If you take a look at this guy, what's it doing? How would you start explaining what this guy is doing right here on lines 241 through 246? This here is the same as what's at the bottom of your slide 88. So if you start explaining this, how do you start? Where do you start from? Just to frame that question a little bit more precisely, you got 3 choices to start from in order to explain what's going on here.
So we're going to insert into the price history table the title ID and price from books, where the book ID from price history, last date equals, it's going to do something, it's updating, sorry, insert into price history, title ID from books. So it's going to the books table and it's selecting the price history changes pretty much. Is that too simple?
What you're seeing and saying is correct. So the one item I want to get us used to, which is partly why this particular example here is, start with the innermost select state.
That's right. Okay, so the innermost is the, would that be the select max last date from price history?
Mhm.
All right. So select max last date from price history. So max date meaning last date, the most current date, yeah?
Right,
Okay.
because last date over time, it's going to build up. You're going to have multiple dates and times in there. So max just says whatever. So max literally is the most recent date, most recent price history change.
Right. I can also read it says before reverting to pre-sales price, save the current price. So yeah,
So the next level out here,
the ID from price history where last date.
because our target here is we want the book ID.
Okay, right. So the first inner one selected the date. Now the next one out of it is selecting the book IDs.
Right. So whatever books were most recently put on sale. So this is most recently put on sale. If we look for that date, we're going to select some books. For those books that were most recently put on sale, we're going to take and grab the sale price and put that in there. So you won't see anything more complicated than this on the certification exam. So this has got a depth of 2 technically, because you go from your insert statement with this select into this, well, this has a depth of 3 actually. But you aren't going to have a depth really down 2. So I have a select here, I've got a select here, I've got a select here. So I've got 3 subqueries that are making up the logic for this particular insert statement.
Right, so select max last date means the most current date, and we're getting that from price history. Then we're taking a book ID from price history where the last date equals the select max
It's
date.
type of
And then
nested
insert it.
nested queries.
Yeah, this is the nature of a declarative language as opposed to programming like in Python or C or any other progressive language. All right, so I want us to get used to looking at this so we can see what's going on, because this demonstrates the nature of working with SQL. So I can have the same image, but I'm just gonna flip over to the environment here. All right, so the way to walk through this when debugging it, or just getting a feel of it, is to say, okay, just select the innermost query. So just run it and see what you get. And I'm probably gonna throw a semicolon in here. I got an extra parenthesis in there, so let me just skip past the parenthesis. All right, so next date, of course, is gonna be today's date.
You
Because
didn't
it's,
need the semicolon?
not when I'm doing a select. When I'm doing a region select, I don't need the semicolon. It'll take only from the start of the blue selection region to the end of the blue region. If I go like this,
Last date.
then I need the semicolon. Because if I go run this, all right, so I get the May 19th. Now if we run all of this right here, I get the book IDs 102 and 103. And now if I go all the way across here, and I gotta make sure I get the right parentheses lined up. Should get both of them right here. So this is what's gonna get grabbed. So now I've got, some data rows here that it's like, okay, that matches the structure of price history. So just, I'm gonna I can click anywhere in here. Just hit run, let's say 2 rows inserted. So what do I have in my price history table now? Go back up and take a look at the table, the contents. So now I've got the same books in there twice, but with their reduced price, with the original price and the reduced price, and the timestamp is different. Yes, so go ahead.
No.
All right, so if you were to think about this in terms of a primary key, what would be the primary key for the price history table? Because it can no longer be just ID, because ID is going to be in there multiple times. Technically, ID becomes a foreign key. But it's still healthy from a data integrity perspective to have a.
So it's ID and last date.
Yep, exactly. ID and last date would be your primary key if we were to create one on there, in order to force uniqueness of each row, which is always a necessary goal, objective / implementation, whatever you want to call it. Yep, you want unique, there has to be unique identification of data rows. So you always need a primary key. So that's the works, and I can do that right now. So questions, comments?
No, I have to read this. I was catching up when you were going over the explanation, but I didn't even keep it.
Mhm. So, and the key way to look at this is just to execute each piece at a time.
I don't understand why we're the last date equals last price history last date.
This portion right here, you mean?
I'm a little confused.
All right, so if I just said select ID from price history, what would you get?
What was that?
If I just said select ID from price history for the books that are in here, what would you get?
If you had a listing of all the IDs.
Right. So, but what if I don't? And I don't want, technically that would work still, but it'd be a little bit sloppy, just because I've got multiple in here. So it's like, just give me occurrence of one. Don't need to see all of the IDs for the last year where we did book sales.
Mhm.
So if I want to just grab, use a filter, that's what we're doing here. We're doing a where clause.
So you're grabbing the last date,
Correct. That's the key, so that we don't get multiple,
so you're grabbing the latest,
exactly.
latest,
It's that way instead of getting,
the latest date in there, okay.
right, instead of getting a result that's multiple IDs being repeated.
Mhm.
When I throw last date in there, forces it just to be only the IDs that were most recently changed.
Okay.
So that's what's going on here. So what we're seeing here is like, hey, subquery pops up again. That's why subquery can be the right-hand side of the condition. This where clause is the condition. It's saying where last date equals, whatever this is. All right, so I
So
said it
you get the
before that,
latest update. Books were,
so
books
it's
that need the last time there was an update.
correct.
Still.
Mhm.
It's-
Because right
I'm
now,
just trying to figure out the business. My problem is I'm figuring out the business requirement for it, and that's probably what's throwing me off. We're just trying to do an example. So,
if you try to figure out the business logic behind this.
yeah, the business requirement,
Yeah, the business requirement
that we would
is
just
that-
be selecting those two, and we didn't load the table with all the price history, so we've only got the two books in our price history.
yeah, so
So that's where I'm probably getting hung up. I'm thinking there's more in there than just the two records that we have in there.
yeah, so we could have initially put in the other ones as well. I could go up in here and say, and revert this. Not revert it, say, give me everything where the prices are less than 10.
Mhm.
Okay,
That would be all the books and remaining books in there.
correct. All the remaining books that go in there. And if I wanted last date to match here, how would I set last date?
Last date equals max last date of industry.
Let me do this run. Okay, so say there's 4 rows inserted. So select title, let's see what we've got in there right now. All right, so now we've got these here. But technically the 1109 entries, that was our initial ones at 1048. So how can I change the 1109 entries to 1048?
Change 1109 to 1040.
Right. Mm-hmm. All the 1109s, how can I change those to 1048?
Would that be mid?
Perfect. Okay, so then we'd be using the update statement. So update price history. And we're only updating last date. Okay, correct spelling is there. Let's see, this is for insert, sorry. Let's do it mixed in my mind. All right, so set last date. And put the keyboard properly as well would help. Last date equal to, right, so you said min, so fill in the rest.
Mid last date. Shouldn't it be, I don't see mid.
And I'm gonna commit this just in case I do something wrong. Then I can roll it back. So if I want to grab the min, how do I grab the min?
Well, oh, should it be select min
Exactly.
and then parentheses last date?
Yep.
From price history?
Yep.
That's semicolon? No. Why don't we do? Because 3.
And now keep in mind that we don't want to update every occurrence of last date because the 1103 entries are gone.
Oh, okay.
So we need a where clause in here.
Where, uh, last dates, I would think where last date is greater than 1103.
So we could say that where last date is greater than 1103. Or we do have the convenience even saying where last date equals, and then do the flip side of this. Because we only have 3 entries in here right now, but if we know we want to grab the end of these, change this to max. Okay, so getting fluid with these subqueries is the theme that we're working with. That's major focus for today. So it says 4 rows updated. Let me go see what we've got in here now. You know, I didn't say that last history, but okay. So now everything is at 1048 and 1103. The 1109s are gone. All right, so little details in here now. All right, when we said select, it's like, hey, I thought Dan said this aggregation functionality has to be used by group by.
Now a group by needs a,
Right, that's the direction of the logic. If when group by is present, there must be an aggregation function. It's not the other way around. So I can have an aggregation function, in this case minmax, that executes over the entire table. Don't need a group by, but I'm executing over the entire table. Right, so don't make that a bidirectional statement of truth. So it's unidirectional. Right? All right, so we're playing with subqueries, getting used to the fact that they can show up anywhere. They can show up in where clauses, they can show up under the set clause. I've seen them show up other locations. Let me get calendar. This is where clause, this is where clause again. Okay, so good enough. All right. So any other discussion on this right here? So we pumped through that guy completely. Now let's do this merge here.
I'm not good up yet, I'm tired.
So we aren't going to do anything with these
Oh, okay.
these books that are rows 5, 6, 7, and 8 right now. I think the rest of the logic will work for those rows being in there. Let me commit this, just so I got that as a starting point. Right. Good. So does everybody have their price history table set up so that these two got rows 1, 2, 3, and 4 in there?
I'm not yet.
See,
We need that for the next section.
It's written into prices. I'm gonna figure out my error.
Yeah. So do some quick error checks. It says table or view does not exist. On which row number? 316. So last date equals select access date. So just play with price history instead of price history 2. You've got price history 2 in there as well. So I'm using price history. So I think your logic is flipped the other way around. If you're using price history 2, either one's fine.
Price history 2 is like that.
Yep.
Price history 2, price history 2.
So run everything and take a look at what's in price history 2 now. And you need to be able to look at the timestamp as well. to see
Oh, I already
those.
got it in here.
Yeah,
So it must have
you're good.
ran already.
Yep, you're good. So hit commit just so you got that. And then use that toChar function in order to see the time that's associated with the date under the last date column.
Oh, this one?
And so the separate statement altogether, do a select, it's this one right here.
Right here. Right. Yeah, I got it. Yeah, I got 10/29/11/15.
Yeah, this guy. Okay, and for you, you have to use parse history too, since you're making a table out.
Can I take a quick break?
Yep, sounds good. All right, so subqueries are enriching. Yesterday joins was enriching. Okay, now it's this, and group by. I have to refill my water bottle there. All right, so quick break.